It's about time I got off my arse and start reviewing some more Big Finish. This is one which I should have done a while ago. Here we have the Defectors, which came as part of the trilogy of stories known as the Locum Doctors trilogy, where the 5th, 6th and 7th Doctors are transported to earlier points in their time stream, which would have occurred during the 1st, 2nd and 3rd incarnations. This provides interesting storytelling. The trilogy was released last year to coincide with the 200th monthly audio release from Big Finish. Here, with release 198, we see the 7th Doctor be transported back to a time which took place sometime during his 3rd incarnation, and he is reunited with Jo Grant, played by Katie Manning, who makes her first appearance as Jo Grant in the monthly range of Big Finish. Now, let's talk about the main cover. It's a pretty decent cover. We have the 7th Doctor and Jo Grant there, and we have like some sort of purple background. I no idea what this is meant to be. I guess it's supposed to represent the alien ship or whatever. And here we have the main villain of the story just there. It's quite a interesting design, and you have all this blue liquid stuff, and here at the side it just tells you what the story is and all that, what Doctor it is. But because this is quite an odd story and the 7th Doctor is out of his own time, we don't have the usual 7th Doctor title sequence in the background, but instead we have the 3rd Doctors. Nice touch by Big Finish there. If we just have a look at the spine, that's the spine. It just says Doctor Who the Defectors, and at the bottom here it just says 198 Big Finish, and you have Sylvester McCoy's face at the top there. There's just the info for the story, what the story is all about. This was released in 2015. It's 120 minutes. Here is the other side, the alternate cover on the booklet, and inside this it just tells you what the next release is and has an advertisement for Doctor Who magazine. I won't show it for you for this review because you already know that by now anyway, with previous reviews if you've watched them. Disc 1 contains episodes 1 and 2, and Disc 2 contains episodes 3 and 4, as well as the next time trailer for the next release. And here are some other releases which are available, which contain the 7th Doctor. So we have Persuasion, Starlight Robbery, Daleks Among Us, Revenge of the Swarm, Mask of Tragedy, Signs and Wonders, and Damaged Goods. Now, I can honestly say that the idea of Doctors interacting with companions that their incarnation never really travelled with is quite exciting, especially since on TV the 7th Doctor only had Ace and Mel. His pairing with Jo Grant is quite good, but of course nothing can match the chemistry what Katie Manning had with the great late John Pertwee. Richard Franklin also returns as Mike Yates in this, plus the character of the Brigadier is mentioned quite a lot, so in a way the Defectors is not only a throwback to the 3rd Doctor unit era, but also pays tribute to the Brigadier. When you listen to this, you do get the feel of this being a John Pertwee style story, but obviously we have Sylvester McCoy here. I wouldn't say that Sylvester McCoy has an awful lot to do in this. A lot of the material is given to Katie Manning, but aside, his performance as per usual is top notch, and I have to give a huge credit to Katie Manning, as I feel that she did a spectacular job reprising her role as Jo Grant, even though at first I will admit I was kind of taken off guard at the beginning by her voice, but we've got to remember that it was over 40 years ago since she originally left the role of Jo Grant in The Green Death, so that's natural. One thing I would have liked to have heard more of was Mike Yates. We do get him in this story, but his appearances is very limited. Plus, I would have liked to have heard John Levine return as Sergeant Benton, but we didn't get that. As for the story itself, I found it quite average, but in a good way. The Defectors did a good job of recapturing the 3rd Doctor era. What with the theme tune at the start and all that, you know, hearing the theme tune again, even though it is a Seventh Doctor story, it's quite odd, but at the same time it's quite refreshing that we do get that. It's a nice homage to that era. We get a monster which is quite interesting, but I feel that the payoff was a little bit dull. Prop to Big Finish on the voice of the monster though, it really does feel like it comes straight out of the Third Doctor era. It kind of reminds me of that creature from The Curse of Peladon, Arturus. Plus, the design of the monster, what you can see on the front cover, as I said before, it isn't all that bad either. It's certainly interesting. I mean, you just look at the face there, and you just look at the wings. It's quite an interesting one. So props for Big Finish on that as well. There were parts of this story which I did feel that were repetitive, especially the cliffhangers. One thing I will say though, in the end, I did feel sorry for some of the supporting characters in this because they didn't really meet a good fate. And while I'm on the supporting characters, I think the supporting cast, they do a good job as well. I have to give a mention to them. Overall, the Defectors is a decent start to the Locum Doctors trilogy. I will admit I was quite excited before listening to this because I absolutely loved the Third Doctor era, and I quite liked this idea of the 5th, 6th and 7th Doctors going back to a different point in their lives and interacting with companions what the 1st, 2nd and 3rd incarnations would have travelled with. I just love the interaction between the 7th Doctor and Jo, and I love the references which were made, such as her encountering other Doctors in the 3 Doctors. I thought that was a nice touch, which means this story takes place sometime during season 10. I'm guessing it takes place maybe just after Planet of the Daleks and just before the Green Death. I could be totally wrong, of course. It was easily the best thing about the story, that all the references to that era. It's a nice touch. It's just a shame we didn't get a plot that was particularly memorable. When I think about it now, I get the gist about what this story is all about, but not the plot all in depth, if you know what I'm on about. Right, I'm going to rate this story now, and I think for this I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Join me again when I take a look at the next part of this trilogy, Last of the Cybermen.